Morning, Seamus.
Good morning. How are you?
Tired.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. I heard something, and I've always kind of like heard it and kind of known it, but didn't really understand it fully. Somebody was on the sales floor talking about the house this, the house of that. The only house I know is the house of the rising sun.
Oh.
So could you maybe help me a little bit understand what that means? Like, what does it mean if my house is in Saturn, or I don't even know what it means. Help.
Your house can't be in Saturn, but
well, whatever.
So, in astrology, you have your planets, which you understand.
Yes.
You've got your signs, which you understand.
Yeah.
But houses are, they're kind of a contrivance based on where the current visible horizons are. So, if I'm looking east, that is going to be considered the beginning of the first house of whatever chart I'm establishing for that moment. So if it's somebody's birthday right at that moment here in Columbus, Ohio, and I look east immediately at the moment of their birth, that's
so it's a picture
rising.
in time.
It's a picture in time, exactly. That's kind of what your whole chart is, like a picture in time. And the houses aren't physical objects. They're contrived divisions of sky based on that moment and that location. What would be visible if there was nothing obstructing your view and you could see east all the way over there or west all the way over there. And the sign that is rising is the chunk of sky that is also somewhat a contrivance. And it tells you, okay, so if Gemini is rising in the east at the moment of somebody's birth, as in the case of my dear son, then their rising sign or their first house is going to speak to the way that they present themselves as a first impression. But it's a two-way lens. So it's not just the way they present, but it's also the way they receive a first impression. So imagine it's your windshield into the world. How do you approach things? How do you initiate things? What is the impulse that drives you at the first moment? And also kind of the what kind of vibe do you give off when people first encounter you? I have a Virgo rising, which means my first house is ruled by Virgo. And so if I'm walking down the street and somebody needs directions, they're probably going to ask me, because Virgo emits this sense of knowing what the heck you're doing, when you know very well that is not necessarily the case at all. So there are 12 houses, and they are divisions or imaginary divisions of sky based on that very moment in that very place. If you took a snapshot of the sky right here and right now in Columbus, Ohio, then whatever was closest to the east would mark our first house, and then the next sign would mark our second house. Now, I use whole sign houses, which is one of dozens of house systems that are used by astrologers, and I won't get into all that because there's a lot of technical jargon and it's not terribly useful, but it basically lines up an entire sign, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, with an entire house, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, 1, 2, 3, 4. First house has to do with that first impression. Second house with our values, our possessions, and the skills and the talents that we have to offer. Third house is it is short distance travel, the exchange of information between one another. And it's typically ruled by Gemini. So it's anything you would think of with that quick moving, short distance Gemini kind of electricity. Fourth house, where you reside or your sense of home, whether that is your childhood home or the feeling of being safe or unsafe. Fifth house, and these are all shorthand, there's a lot more to them. Fifth house is authentic self-expression, creativity, artistry, and play. Sixth house is your day-to-day routine, your rhythms, your habits, the things that you do in order to sustain your current state of being, for good or bad. Seventh house, partnerships, friendships, interactions on a social level, also agreements and negotiations. 8th house, that's where those negotiations turn into promises that we either keep or do not keep. And so we establish things like trust and intimacy, or fear and enmity. 9th house, long distance travel, philosophy, higher education, sometimes religion or spiritual pursuit, what is out there rather than in front of you. 10th house, career with a capital C, not just your day-to-day habits of showing up to work, but your meaning of life. Why are you doing the things that you do? What have you perfected in terms of your skills and talents? 11th house, a vision of the future, your bigger us, your bigger we with a capital W. What kind of community do you feel that you either belong to or don't belong to? And then finally, the 12th house, which is letting go, dissolving, the release of, well, anything really. In particular, these things that we think are timeless and material and permanent. In the 12th house, we see the veil thin between that material world and the world of the other than material. So those are your houses. 2
quick things.
Yes.
So would you call the 12th house your setting house or your...
Oh, no, your setting house. So the one that would be closest to the setting sun would be what marks your 7th house.
I see. And because it's a panoramic view, that doesn't always... We've lost our light.
We've lost our light, which is probably for the best, because I got crow's feet today.
Okay, I got that. So my last thing, because I know you're running long. So if I'm interpreting this down into Seamus understanding, you have 12 different houses, and those affect you because you're looking out the windshield in a panoramic view, but your birth sign's still driving the car. No.
You're driving the car. Your birth sign just kind of hands you a syllabus.
A roadmap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you could go off-roading, and you could run out of gas.
Well, I've ran out of gas.
So, no, your chart, to put it very, very succinctly and too simply, your chart is a syllabus for life school, and it gives you insight into what kind of tools you have available, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, just like your Business 101 class. And it allows you, especially from the evolutionary astrologer's perspective, which is kind of how I roll, it allows you to make smarter choices based on the resources you have available, and shows you which resources might need a little strengthening, or maybe need to turn the volume down on them. Maybe they talk too loud at the table. So if your planets are the what of the chart, Mercury is my ability to think and speak. Again, very, very simply. Jupiter is my ability to learn and expand and grow and become wealthy enough to be very, very generous. Venus is my ability to connect not just with people, but with the things that people do, and have opinions about those things and feelings, and maybe create relationships. Those are the what. That's what I can do. The signs are how I do them.
Gotcha.
And then the houses are the context. They're the where I do them. So if I have, as in my chart, my sun, my sense of identity, in Aquarius, fucking weird shit. Ingenuity, thinking in ways that I haven't been taught to think, and the ability to stand on the edge of whatever group I do or do not belong to, so that I can get a distant perspective and maybe more objectivity on that group. And it's in my 6th house. So it's every damn day. It's a pattern, it's a habit. It's something that I have to, like a heartbeat, it has to keep going, or else I'm not me.
Got it.
That's just one
example.
example.
A little bit better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy New Year, guys. Have a wonderful one.